With the recent news that Sony is taking over physical media distribution for Disney in the US and Canada, today I've got a list of 30 Disney-owned movies that I think could really benefit from a 4K Blu-ray release. So let's rock this. Hi everyone, how you doing? Welcome back. I'm Fuzz. So I've got a question for you guys today. Is Sony primed to come to the rescue of physical media collectors and help save physical media? Well, Bill Hunt from the Digital Bits recently broke the story that Sony has just inked a deal with Disney to take over physical media distribution of all Disney-owned titles in the US and Canada. And I think this could be a very positive sign, at least potentially, that we could finally see some progress towards getting some of these long sought-after catalog films released on 4K UHD, especially from companies like 20th Century Fox, Touchstone Pictures, and Hollywood Pictures. Now, many of you who are regular viewers to this channel may be fully aware that Disney has been on my shit list for quite some time now, because they've been sitting on a gold mine of catalog titles, really an embarrassment of riches when you think about it, that they've essentially done very little with in terms of 4K Blu-ray releases or even film preservation for most of the titles they own. But the good news is that Sony has had a much better track record with physical media in recent years than Disney has. And as such, I think this deal could end up being a very good thing for the collecting community. Now, I need to qualify my remarks here real quick because, of course, it's still too early to know for sure what's going to happen with this deal, right? I don't want to jump the gun here because we still don't really know how much input or flexibility Sony will have in deciding which titles get 4K releases and which don't. Many of those decisions could still be coming from Disney, unless, of course, Disney is relinquishing some of that authority and control over to Sony as part of this deal. And that's actually what I think may be in play here, because it also sounds like Disney has gotten rid of a lot of good people in their physical media division who actually knew what the fuck they were doing. So because of that, I think it's highly likely that Sony will have significant input in deciding which titles get released on 4K. They do have substantial skin in the game as well, and Sony presumably also has much better personnel on staff in their physical media departments who, unlike Disney, actually do know what they're doing. And I've noticed Sony seems to just be a little bit more tuned into the collector mindset in general. They seem to care more about physical media overall, and they put out some really high quality releases. Some of their titles are some of the best on the market in 4K. So yeah, Sony has done a bang up job with physical media in recent years. So I personally applaud this. I took this information as good news because let's face it, Disney certainly hasn't been getting the job done when it comes to physical media, have they? And this deal between Sony and Disney almost seems like kind of an acknowledgement of that fact. And I'm sure this deal makes the most financial sense to Disney. Honestly, I've never really gotten the impression that Disney cared that much about physical media, at least in recent years. They don't seem to really want to have anything to do with it, so I say, right on. Let's give it to Sony. Let's give it over to a company that actually does care about physical media, that really seems to get it and is not totally out of touch with the collector community. So just for fun, I thought it would be a good time to explore some of the awesome titles that Disney has under its control that I think could really benefit from a 4K Blu-ray release. And as such, today I put together a list of 30 Disney-owned catalog films that I would love to see Sony focus on for 4K release. And that is, of course, to the extent that Sony will even have any control over this, but I'm hopeful that Sony will be given at least some flexibility in deciding which titles get 4K releases. We'll just have to see what happens and how this whole thing unfolds. Anyway, I'm not going to be ranking the titles that I'm discussing here today in any particular order. What I've done here is I've broken down the titles into 4 separate categories. First, I'll be discussing some 20th Century Fox films that I would love to see get 4K releases. And then I'll move on to Touchstone Pictures and then Hollywood Pictures after that. And then my 4th category is really more for me. It's my own personal passion project, and I'll talk more about that and get to that one toward the end of the video. But for now, just keep in mind this is by no means intended to be a definitive list here. There are, of course, a lot of other great films out there under Disney's ownership and control beyond just what I'm including on this list. I just wanted to have some fun with this idea, and when I was going through the master list, the total releases from each studio, I just grabbed some of the titles that jumped right out at me as titles that I would personally be interested in seeing 4K releases of the most. So as usual, remember this is just my own opinion based on my taste in movies. This is not intended to be some all-encompassing, comprehensive, objective list. This is just my opinion. All right, before I get to this list, I do have a new channel member shout out I want to give some love to real quick. MJ just became the newest member of the Fuzz Club. MJ, thank you so much. I really appreciate your support. It means a lot to me, and I look forward to chatting with you more moving forward. And if any of you would like to know more about the Fuzz Club, just click on the link in the description below or click the join button, and it'll bring up all the membership information for you. Okay, so without any further ado, let's get right into this list. Some of these titles I will be breezing through fairly quickly, so just keep that in mind. I've got a lot of titles here I want to get through, so I'm not going to spend a crazy amount of time on every title. The first up is Minority Report, Steven Spielberg, 2002 film. This is a great film, and this is actually probably my favorite Spielberg film from like the second half of his career, right? As far as later career Spielberg goes, this is the one I like the most. You got Tom Cruise, Colin Farrell, Max von Sydow is in it. And yeah, just a great film all the way around. We definitely need this on 4K. So yeah, Minority Report. Next up is a movie called Kiss of Death, which I don't know how many of you out there are familiar with this one or remember this one. This film came out in 1995, and it's got a great cast. You got David Caruso in the lead, also got Samuel L. Jackson, Nicolas Cage, Helen Hunt's in there, Michael Rappaport. This is a great film. It actually packs quite a bit into the hour and 40-minute runtime. It's a tight and well-paced film, and you know, the story just evolves really nicely. There's a lot in it, and there's some interesting twists and turns in the film. It's just a really well done kind of action crime drama thriller that I would highly recommend checking out if you've never seen it. Now, I don't believe this has ever gotten any kind of Blu-ray release. I think the last format this was released on was DVD. And I think I might even have an old DVD of this packed up in storage somewhere. That's going to be a recurring theme with this list. A number of these titles are ones I have on DVD, but they weren't easily accessible to me at this time, so I'm not showing them off. I'm just using the artwork instead. So Kiss of Death is a great film that I would absolutely love to see on 4K. At the very least, I'd like to see us get a Blu-ray release of that, because we never even got that. But ideally, yeah, 4K is the way to go. And I could see this film looking really good in 4K. So yeah, Kiss of Death. Next up is a film that has become kind of a classic David Fincher film, and that is Fight Club. We definitely need this bad boy on 4K. I'm a big Edward Norton fan, and he did an amazing job with this film. I actually think this may be one of his best films. Just a fun film all the way around, and I love the political and social commentary and the subtext in this film. It's got some really good stuff, some really interesting stuff. And, you know, the film does make you think a little bit. So, and there's lots of like Easter eggs and stuff to look out for too when you're watching this film. There's little things you notice that are just super cool. So I think it's one of Fincher's masterpieces myself. And it's one that I would have thought we would have already had on 4K by now, but for whatever reason, we don't. And so yeah, we definitely need this bad boy on 4K. I would say this one should probably be prioritized, because I know there are a lot of people out there that want this bad boy on 4K. So hopefully we will get it at some point. Another one we need on 4K that you would think we would have absolutely gotten on 4K by now is Planet of the Apes from 1968. Classic Charlton Heston film with Roddy McDowall as well. I have all these old Planet of the Apes films on DVD myself. I never got around to upgrading them to Blu-ray, and you know, I'd like to see them on 4K. I could imagine these films looking really good on 4K. Why don't we have Planet of the Apes on 4K already? I mean, this is an absolute classic that you would think that we definitely should have had it by now. So this is another one that I would think should be prioritized. I know a lot of people are wanting on 4K. I'm a big fan of this franchise, so I would definitely like to see all of the films released on 4K, but at the very least, we've got to get this original 1968 classic out on 4K. So yeah, Planet of the Apes. We also need to see David Cronenberg's The Fly released on 4K, 1986 film with Jeff Goldblum and Gina Davis. I absolutely love this film, and we know that it was licensed out to Scream Factory at one point. The Scream Factory put out a great Blu-ray set. I don't have it. I never got around to picking this one up on Blu-ray, but I was hoping we might actually get a 4K release at some point. That's kind of what I'm waiting for. Now, I don't know if it's going to happen or not, but you know, a man can hope, right? But I have been on a pretty big David Cronenberg kick lately. I've become a big fan of his films, and The Fly is the only big one that I don't currently have in my collection on physical media. So yeah, The Fly on 4K, another absolute classic. I have to assume that I'm not the only one out there who wants it on 4K. It's a popular title. I know I've heard a lot of other collectors talk about getting that one on 4K and wanting to see that one get a 4K release. Moving on to a very cool 1999 heist film, and that is Entrapment. Got Sean Connery here, Catherine Zeta-Jones. This is a really fun ride. It deals with, it's a heist flick, but it's you're dealing with art, fine art. So it's an art heist flick, kind of like Thomas Crown Affair, except not exactly the same, but just a really fun ride all the way around that I would definitely love to see get a 4K release at some point. Now, this is an early 2006 Blu-ray, so not the best Blu-ray. It's still using a 25 gigabyte single layer disc. This is one of the early Blu-rays that first came out when the format was first launched. And I don't believe we've gotten any kind of update to this film since then. So I do think it needs an update, but we absolutely should have a 4K for this one because we haven't gotten much of an update since 2006. I could see this film really benefiting from a 4K transfer, for a new 4K restoration. So yeah, Entrapment. Moving on next to a 1998 film called The Siege. Great kind of a terrorist thriller type film starring Denzel Washington, Annette Bening, Bruce Willis is in this one. This is a film I actually haven't seen for quite some time, probably since the late 90s or early 2000s. But I always liked this one, and I had intended to pick this one up on Blu-ray. It's been on my my pickup list to get at some point. I just never got around to it. But why get it on Blu-ray if we could have it on 4K? I mean, that's the way I look at it, right? I'd certainly rather have it on 4K than Blu-ray. But yeah, just another really good film that I think could really benefit from a 4K release. So yeah, The Siege. And then from 1995, I've got a film called Strange Days, directed by Catherine Bigelow, co-written by James Cameron. This is the only film on this list that I've never actually seen before, and I could just pick up a Blu-ray, and who knows, I might just do that at some point. But I've heard great things about it, and I've heard other people talk about it, and it sounds right up my alley. It's kind of a sci-fi crime drama starring Ralph Fiennes, Angela Bassett. Who else have we got here? Tom Sizemore is in this, Juliette Lewis, Vincent D'Onofrio. So it's got a really good cast, and it's one that I've been looking forward to seeing at some point. I just haven't gotten around to picking it up on Blu-ray. But again, if you can have it on 4K, that's even better, right? So I always opt for 4K wherever possible in most cases. And then, of course, we need the remaining Die Hard movies on 4K, right? Or at least 2 through 4. I don't really care about the 5th one, but I definitely want to see Die Hard 2, 3, and 4 on 4K, especially Die Hard 3 with a Vengeance. That one, I think I like that one almost as much as the original. Really, the first 3 Die Hard movies for me are all bangers. So I enjoy all of them except that last one, that Die Hard 5. But I won't say too much about this. Yeah, we need the remaining Die Hard movies on 4K for sure. It'd be cool to have a nice little 4K box set that had them all in 4K or whatnot. So yep, Die Hard. And then last up for 20th Century Fox movies is a great sci-fi film called Sunshine. I've always liked this film. I have an old DVD of this one. I never got around to upgrading it to Blu-ray. And again, once again, let's get it on 4K. That's even better, right? But seriously, a great sci-fi film with a really unique premise. They're actually hanging out, the astronauts, this crew are actually hanging out around Mercury, trying to deal with a dying sun with nuclear weapons. So I know it's a little bit silly, maybe a little bit absurd, but they play it really straight, and it's a really good movie. It's a really well done movie. You got Cillian Murphy in this, you got Rose Byrne, you got Chris Evans, you got Michelle Yeoh, great cast, and you know, it's played kind of like a drama, like a solid sci-fi drama. They play it very serious, and it doesn't come off as hokey or cheesy at all. Again, I have an old DVD of this one, but would absolutely love to see it get a 4K release. And admittedly, it's possible that the special effects from 2007 might not translate to 4K as well as we would like. That's okay. I'm okay with that. I just want to get the film in the best quality possible. So yeah, Sunshine, great film. Okay, I want to move on now to some Touchstone Pictures movies. Touchstone put out a lot of great stuff, and the first one I want to touch on real quick is Signs from 2002. This has kind of become a classic in its own right, from M. Night Shyamalan Ding Dong. And yeah, Mel Gibson, Joaquin Phoenix, you got aliens. So, I mean, what's not to love about that, right? So, yeah, I definitely think we should have Signs on 4K as soon as possible. I mean, we have a number of other M. Night films on 4K, but two of his biggest titles are ones that we don't have on 4K, and one of those titles is Signs here. So we definitely need to get this one on 4K in the near future if we can. Another Touchstone Pictures release from 1986 is Martin Scorsese's The Color of Money, the sequel to The Hustler, of course. This is a great film, and it's one of my favorite Scorsese films. In fact, this one has a pretty high rewatch value for me. It's one of those ones I don't seem to get sick of and can watch quite a bit. Whenever it used to come on cable TV or whatever, I'd always watch it. Always had a lot of fun with this one. Paul Newman, Tom Cruise. Yeah, you just can't go wrong with something like this. Great film, and we definitely need this one on 4K. So, yep, Color of Money. I'm also a big fan of the 1996 Mel Gibson film, Ransom. Awesome film. Mel Gibson, Gary Sinise, Rene Russo. Yeah, this was a really good, you know, kidnapping type thriller, and just a fun ride all the way around. And yeah, I think we definitely need this one on 4K. Again, another one I don't own in my collection and would like to, but ideally I'd like it in 4K. So yeah, Ransom. Another Touchstone Pictures film that I've always really liked is The Recruit from 2003. Colin Farrell, Al Pacino. It's a CIA kind of deal, a great action thriller, kind of a psychological thriller, dealing with you know, CIA training and recruiting, and then everything that happens after that. So yeah, it's a great film, and just a fun ride. Another one that I think is pretty rewatchable. You know, you can rewatch this one quite a bit and not get sick of it, or at least I can. So, but always really like this one from 2003, The Recruit. From 1989, I've got a great prison film here that I don't know how many of you have seen before or remember, but it's called An Innocent Man. Stars Tom Selleck, and like I said, it's just a great prison film. I won't say too much about it because I haven't seen it in a long time. It's been a long time, but I actually saw this one in the theater when it first came out, and I've always been a big fan of prison films in general, so anytime there's a prison film, usually I'm all in on it, and An Innocent Man was no exception. Really good film, and it's good. It's a prison film, but it's a good thriller, a suspenseful thriller as well. So yeah, and if you've never seen it, you should definitely check it out. Again, it's another one I never got around to buying on physical media for myself, but would absolutely love to see it get a 4K release. And then, of course, we need Gone in 60 Seconds on 4K. I've talked about this one recently, even talked about it in my Dream 4K wish list video not too long ago. So I won't say much here. I really want this one on 4K badly. This is a great film, and I'd like the director's cut, the extended director's cut that came on my old DVD. So ideally what I'd like to see this film done on, but we definitely need this one on 4K. I was revisiting this a few weeks back, and I was noticing with all the dark scenes that this is a title that could really benefit from HDR. And that's one thing that really kind of stuck out to me the last time I was watching this. It's like, dang, if this were in 4K and we had a good HDR pass on it, it would look so much better. So yeah, I want Gone in 60 Seconds on 4K. Okay, next up from Touchstone Pictures is a movie called Bad Company. And I know that's kind of a generic title, right? There's been like several movies under that name. I'm talking about the movie Bad Company from 1995. Stars Lawrence Fishburne and Ellen Barkin. Great film. It's like a corporate espionage film that I don't think ever even got a Blu-ray release. I think the last thing this was released on was DVD. It's just a really good film and a good kind of psychological thriller, and if you've never seen it, it's awesome. This is one I haven't seen myself in quite a few years and would love to pick up a physical media copy of it, but of course I'm not going to buy an old DVD. That just doesn't work for me. I don't do DVDs, so I am very hopeful that we get at least a Blu-ray release of this film at some point, if not a 4K release. That's, you know, ideal, right? So, but yeah, Bad Company from 1995, great film. Okay, and another Touchstone Pictures release that I've talked about quite a bit here recently, Con Air. You know, I think we all want this one on 4K, right? I don't think I'm alone here in asking for the powers that be to release this bad boy on 4K, right? Great film, Nicolas Cage, John Malkovich, John Cusack. I won't say too much about it because, like I said, I've talked about it recently. I can't remember if I put this on my dream 4K wish list video or not, but either way, it's something that has come up recently, and I know a lot of other collectors out there have been clamoring to get this one on 4K. So yeah, Con Air. Another good 1997 movie that I thought would make for a pretty cool 4K release is the movie Metro, starring Eddie Murphy. It's a great action crime drama thriller. Eddie Murphy is a cop, a hostage negotiator, which I always love hostage negotiation type movies, so I think that's why I was a fan of this one. But I've always enjoyed this one. It was cool seeing Eddie Murphy get back into some kind of law enforcement role after Beverly Hills Cop. And yeah, I've just always enjoyed watching this one. It's one I can watch repeatedly. However, I've never gotten around to picking it up on Blu-ray, so hey, let's just go straight to 4K, right? That's what I'd like to see happen. But great, fun film, Metro from 1997. And then, of course, the other big one that so many of us want from Touchstone Pictures, of course, Armageddon, another one I've talked about fairly recently, I think. And it's not clear to me what the situation is with this film in terms of the source materials. I was chatting with my buddy Dennis over at the Blue Corner, and he let me know that there were some issues with this, that the source materials had been lost or damaged in a fire or something. So I did a little looking up, and what I found out was that there was an archive print made of this film at one point, an archive master, and that was apparently destroyed in a fire at some point in the late 2000s. But when they made this Blu-ray, they created a new HD master. And so I'm not sure what they created that new master from. I'm very curious to know what kind of source elements they were able to create the master for this from. But apparently Michael Bay had to go back in and do some extra work to get this thing, I guess, to look right, if I understood what I read correctly. But I don't know what the status is with this film in terms of how realistic it is to even get a 4K release. 1080p may be the best we've got, and may be the best that we're going to get. If there was ever a chance of doing a 4K release, it's possible it would just be an upscale. It wouldn't be like from the original camera negative. That's what I'm not sure about. You know, I haven't been able to pinpoint what the status is with the original camera negatives, the original source materials for this film. So, but I know a lot of us, we all want this thing on 4K. We'd love to see it. And even if we did get it on 4K, I'm not sure how well the special effects would translate to 4K. They even start to look a little dated on this thing, even on the Blu-ray here. So, but yeah, Armageddon, I've talked about it before. We all want it on 4K. Don't know how realistic it is, but, if we can get it, great. By the way, if you're enjoying the content on this channel, do me a favor and please consider subscribing to the channel. And if you do, don't forget to hit that notification bell as well so you can be alerted when I'm posting videos that you might be interested in. And also don't forget to like the video as well. It really helps with the algorithm and the channel's visibility on YouTube. Thank you so much for your support. I really appreciate it. Okay, let's move on to some Hollywood Pictures movies. Next here, I only got about 5 here that really jumped out at me as being ones that I really wanted. The first one is a movie called Dead Presidents. This came out in 1995. I actually saw this bad boy in the theater and it was awesome. I really liked this movie. However, I don't know if this has ever even gotten a Blu-ray release. I haven't been able to find one. I think it's possible the last time this thing was released on physical media, it was a DVD. But this is a great kind of heist film. I mean, it's not purely a heist film. It has a strong heist component to it, but that's not the only thing that's going on in this film. There's some great social commentary, political commentary, some great subtext in this film. Great cast, Lorenz Tate, Keith David, Chris Tucker's in this. Terrence Howard even makes an appearance in this one. And yeah, if you've never seen Dead Presidents, it's awesome. I know it can be streamed in HD, but I don't believe there's a Blu-ray out there for this. So I would love to see this on 4K. This is quite high on my 4K list. Would love to see this film on 4K, get a proper 4K restoration. And who knows, maybe we will get it on 4K at some point. A man can hope. But if you've never seen Dead Presidents, oh, it's an awesome film, and I would definitely recommend checking it out at your earliest convenience. Like I said, you can get it through streaming, so it's not like it's unavailable anywhere, but it's a great film that definitely needs a 4K release in my view. Next up is another M. Night Shyamalan Ding Dong movie. Quite possibly the most sought after M. Night movie on 4K, and that is The Sixth Sense. We gotta have The Sixth Sense on 4K. Bruce Willis, just an awesome film from 1999, and quite possibly the best M. Night film of his career. I know a lot of people consider it to be, one of the best films of his career. A lot of people think he started out strong with films like The Sixth Sense and Signs, and then kind of petered out in his career after that. I like all his stuff. I mean, not everything, but I like most of his films. I'm a big M. Night fan. I know not everybody digs his stuff, but I've always thought M. Night's work was just really interesting and a lot of fun to watch. So yeah, we definitely need The Sixth Sense on 4K. I don't know how much I can really say about this one. And I know I'm far from alone in requesting that one on 4K. So they got to get it out, don't they? There's also a 1991 movie I'd like to see get a 4K release called Run. It stars Patrick Dempsey and Kelly Preston. Awesome movie from what I remember. It's been many years since I've seen it. I probably haven't seen it since around the early 90s. And I don't think this one ever got a Blu-ray release either. I think it was only released on DVD. The funny thing about this film is I had totally forgotten about it until I think maybe about a year ago. I heard Garrett over at Born to Be Rad talking about this film, and I was like, holy crap, I remember that film. I had forgotten all about it, but as soon as Garrett mentioned it, I was like, oh yes, it was a great film. It's a great kind of action thriller. I don't remember the details of the film very much. Just have a few faint memories kind of floating around in my brain, but I do remember really liking the film, and because we've never gotten this on Blu-ray, I would definitely love to see this one get some attention, this one get some love. Yeah, would love to see this get a 4K release. I could almost see this being a good boutique title like Vinegar Syndrome or Arrow or Shout Studios or whatnot. Yeah, Run would be perfect for a nice boutique collectible edition release. I would love that. So yeah, Run, great film. If you've never seen it, you might be able to find it streaming somewhere, but yeah, probably on Tubi or something like that. But yeah, it's a fun film, and I would just love to get my hands on this one on 4K. And then, of course, another one I've talked about quite a bit, and that is The Rock. I'm not going to say too much here. I feel like I've, covered this fairly recently. This was also, I believe, on my dream 4K wish list, but this is one of the biggest titles under the Hollywood Pictures name that I think we absolutely need a 4K release of this. So, The Rock, right? Just classic Michael Bay, right? So, yeah, give us The Rock, please. And then the last Hollywood Pictures title that I wanted to touch on was Tombstone. Actually, I said Strange Days was the only movie on this list I hadn't seen. I lied, or I misspoke. Actually, I've never seen Tombstone. And it's on my list because it sounds like something that I should absolutely have in my collection, right? Just from the cast alone, Kurt Russell, Val Kilmer, Michael Biehn, Bill Paxton. Michael Biehn and Bill Paxton back together again after Aliens. Sam Elliott, Powers Booth. Looks like an awesome cast. And even though I'm not a big Westerns fan, a big fan of Westerns, I've never really gotten into Westerns that much. But this looks like a movie that I might really dig, especially with a cast like that. And I know a lot of you out there really would like to see Tombstone get a 4K release. I know it's a popular title that a lot of people want on 4K. So I threw this one on the list partly because I want to see it on 4K, but the other reason I put it on the list is because I know so many of you out there would also like to see this one get a 4K release. So Tombstone from Hollywood Pictures. All right, and now we're moving on to the final category here. This is my own kind of personal pet project here for this category, and it consists of movies from all three of the studios I just talked about. We're talking about Tony Scott movies. Those of you who've been watching the channel for a while know that Tony Scott is one of my favorite directors. And honestly, I was a little bit reluctant to even include his movies in yet another list here today, because I feel like I've talked about his work a lot on this channel. So I don't want to bore you guys. I don't want to be too redundant. So I'm going to keep it very brief this time. In fact, I'm not even going to use printed titles on the screen for each of these. Just going to go through these here real quickly. The first one is Unstoppable. This is 20th Century Fox, the final Tony Scott movie. Absolutely love it. Again, I don't want to bore you guys too much because I've talked about these movies quite a bit. So got to have Unstoppable. Another 20th Century Fox, of course, Man on Fire, one of my favorite Tony Scott movies. We absolutely need this on 4K. And the thing with Tony Scott, for me, like if I could pick anything to be released on 4K that is Disney owned, it would be Tony Scott movies first and foremost. Those are the ones I want the most out of all of these. So, but again, I've talked about it so much on this channel, I don't want to bore you guys to death. So let's get through these. From Hollywood Pictures, we've got Crimson Tide, of course. Gotta have this. And I actually would like the extended version that was available on the old DVD, as I've talked about previously. But yeah, great film. We gotta have Crimson Tide on 4K. Also need Enemy of the State here. Got to do it, right? This is a Touchstone Pictures release. And then the final Touchstone Pictures release that I want to see, Tony Scott, Deja Vu, and Enemy of the State, right? Got to have all these Tony Scott films on 4K. They are like essential for me. So yeah, Tony Scott, he was the man, absolutely rocked it. And I got to have as many Tony Scott movies on 4K as possible, even beyond just the 5 I mentioned here. Pretty much anything that Tony Scott did, I wanted on 4K, whether it be The Last Boy Scout, whether it be Domino, another amazing movie of his. Yeah, I want all of that on 4K. But for now, I'll take the 5 I mentioned on this list. Yeah, come on, Sony. I'm pulling for you. Get those Tony Scott films out on 4K, please. Okay, so that about wraps it up for my list of 30 Disney-owned movies that I would love to see released on 4K as soon as possible. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. What do you think of my choices here? What are some of your choices? What would you like to see released on 4K that is currently under Disney's control? Don't forget to like the video, subscribe, share the video if you're really into it. I really appreciate your support. Thank you so much for watching today, and I'll see you soon.